Today's build features content from a pack that I got for free through the EA Creator Network. And today is part 4 of my Haunted Copperdale save file. I am building a house for two teen best friends living next door to each other. When I was first planning the save file, I was very inspired by playing Dead by Daylight. And so these houses, it was like intended to have Sims inspired by Sable and Michaela from Dead by Daylight. But I did decide to make them teens for the save file because it is high school years expansion pack. And I want as many teens in this neighborhood as I can like put in. And so I was like, okay, I could just have them be neighbors and I could make them like 16 years old and they each have, like, their family members. I'm gonna end up making Sims for this save file. The first time I did a save file, I made the Sims along with the builds, but I just can't be bothered to being create a Sim right now, so I'm just gonna hold off on making the Sims until I feel like going into create a Sim. So that'll be, like, a little while later. I don't even like last time I didn't show me making them at all, but while I was like just like organizing my save, I was considering maybe eventually I'll do like a create a sim video. That's like a very strong maybe. Like I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I've never done create a sim video before. I also feel insecure because I'm definitely not a like cast person. I'm like a build buy person. I mostly build in The Sims now. It's a possibility though. I might end up doing a video where I'm making different Sims for the save file because there are a lot of households I'm going to want to make. The last lot in this neighborhood, I think I'm doing an apartment building so that I could have like a lot more households. And I would like to make people who kind of own the businesses that I had already built. So I already built a cinema, which is a like bubble tea thrift store lot. So it would be nice to maybe like have a sim who runs one of the businesses in there. I built a diner, so maybe I could build like I could make a the owner of the diner. I also have like a like strip of shops that's like a karaoke bar, and there's various different like fake stores which I could make as many Sims as I want for that too. But there aren't like too many lots in Copperdale, and at least like a few more of them are going to be more community lots potentially. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I just do a large apartment building and then I'll be able to make as many Sims as I want, which I might regret later because like sometimes I have all these ideas and I'm excited to do them, but making Sims is like such a daunting task for me. But I would really like to make a whole bunch of Sims, and it'll be nice because I really love Copperdale. I think it's one of my favorite neighborhoods to do gameplay in. And what got me back into doing the save file was because I really want to play in Copperdale and I was really enjoying the couple community lots that I had finished back in like I think it was like back in like September I started this and then I took like a little bit of a break. But I picked it back up with the intention that I wanted more lots so that I can play in Copperdale with the lots. And so like I really want to play with the save file and which is why I'm like I'm really trying to stay focused on it. Even though I do want to do some more like naturey builds, which is what I usually do and is like the easiest for me. That's like the sort of style I can just space out in and just make a build. Where these I have to think a little bit more and be more intentional with the styles that I'm picking. Like these two houses, I pulled a couple houses off of Google and then I just like found some that I thought would look nice next to each other. And I went from there, which I still have the picture saved on my desktop. So I'll pull them up now that I at least have the base of each house so you can see what I'm talking about. Just going to show them briefly. This is what I was basing these images off of and then just going for whatever on the like back and sides of the house. But I really just wanted to figure out like the front and the roofing, and so I used those as my references. I haven't used a reference picture in a while, but I felt like these were simple enough. They're very simple shapes. I don't build suburban houses very often, but I really like these ones. I make them look a little bit run down. I wanted them to feel like they're pretty old and like the Sims aren't rich who are living here. I really don't know, like, cause like this is based on Sable and Michaela. I don't know what their family's financial situation is. I read a little bit of their lore, which I'm gonna have to read a bit more before I finish this entire voiceover because I'd like to discuss it a little bit more, but I'm not like that familiar with them. I don't play the characters, so I'm like, I don't know a lot about them. But I do know that Sable's dad plays golf. And to me, a man who plays golf is like at least like upper middle class. It just feels like a rich person hobby. And this, I don't see these Sims as being like rich people, and there's no golf equipment in the game anyway. I was like looking to see if I could like incorporate that into like a closet in here. I just put some sports equipment down. And like again, I didn't look too much into their lore. I just knew like a base of things because like Dead by Daylight has a new survivor coming out, and she's a fan of Sable's podcast. And I was like, I didn't even know Sable had a podcast. And I was just like, wait, I'm building these houses so I can have like a little radio station room in the attic for her. And so I read a little bit about like her family life so that I would have an understanding of how big I needed the house to be. And then I also did the same for Michaela, who I had seen that her dad passes away when she's like 16. So I went for that as well, that like maybe that's just like recently happened. So I might like set that story up when I'm developing the build and stuff, like, or like I guess the create a sim stuff. I'm planning on having more detailed storyline and a connection for like all the sims in the world when I have it all figured out. In my Glimmerbrook one, I had the sims all planned and I was making the sims with each house. And that save file was very small compared to this because Glimmerbrook is like what, like 5 lots. So it was a lot more easy to focus on. But I think the important part of the lore that I'm taking inspiration from is that Michaela disappears and Sable feels very guilty, and so she starts to look into it and she realizes that the disappearances have been happening like more than once and it could be linked to their movie theater. And I'll probably like take inspiration from that for the like auditorium for the high school because I already made the movie theater, so it's too late to make it the movie theater, but I could definitely make the auditorium for the school like a similar portal type situation, which would just be a hidden staircase behind a stage to like a scary storage room. That's probably what will end up happening. And I was looking up pictures for inspiration. I still don't know what I want the look of that to be, but I really think that will be the next build that I do for this save, but because I just like am lost for where I want to start, I might do a like naturey build between some of the save file, which was what I was planning on doing anyway, having a lot of spring floral sort of cottage builds coming up too. And I know I haven't really said much about what I'm doing for these houses and the shape for them. I was mostly just trying to match the front to my inspiration pictures and trying to make it look good and make it look a little bit run down here and there. And I really like the idea of screened in porches. And so I wanted to incorporate a couple of those. And this lot is fairly small. So I was a little bit worried about the floor plans for these builds, but I made them 2 bedrooms each, which helped a lot. And the parents' bedroom, it was for both, it felt a little bit difficult to get in a double bed, but I did manage it because you really only need 3 tiles for a double bed. It just makes it a little bit difficult to have side tables next to the bed, which is a little bit annoying sometimes, especially because the side tables in this game are so big. Usually I use tool mod to make them slightly smaller, which I had to do in one of the living rooms too, because it just like looked so out of place compared to the couch. It was like if I feel like the scaling was just completely off. By the way, if you notice that the column in the front isn't actually on the wall, I did not notice that for a very long time when I was building this. And I only noticed it when I was editing, and all I could think was, how did I not notice that I had the column just in the middle of the like front porch? Without, like, even noticing that it was like that, because from one angle, it looked like it was, like, perfectly against the wall, and then I just didn't focus on that area of the house at all, and so I just, like, have that column sticking out there for a very long time, so if that's frustrating, it's probably gonna stay frustrating for a little while. I do eventually notice, and then I feel embarrassed when I notice. I was like, "How did I not see that I just have this column in the middle of the porch?" But it does get fixed eventually. And now I'm just doing the floor plans, and originally I wanted a staircase leading up to the attic, but I felt like it took up way too much space, and I was originally wanting that because when I was a kid, I had a friend who had this like really steep staircase leading up to like sort of an attic space like that. And it was always so creepy to me going up there, and it like scared me a lot. And I wanted that sort of feel going up into the attic, but it was just too small of a house to have that. But I do make the attic space like Sable's like radio station room, where both her and Michaela, I think it's just they talk a lot about horror movies on their podcast. So I have the space for them up there for that. I was actually really excited when I found out that Sable had a podcast, which like I know it's old news. I just never read like anyone's lore except for the characters that I play, which is like Fung and the Trickster. So a lot of other lore I'm just not familiar with, so I just didn't know. But there is a new Survivor coming out, and she's a fan of Sable's podcast. And I was like, wait a minute, I should probably read some of the lore. So I skimmed through some of it briefly. And I was like, wow, like a little radio station room would be so cute in these builds. And that's when I started looking on Google for inspiration pictures for the houses. So I was like, I need to start this today. And so I started doing that. And the yellow house for the reference picture had sort of like an attic space, and at first, I was playing around with half walls, but I was just like, if I make it just a little bit wider, because I can definitely make the houses a little bit bigger, which I did already. This is like the final size for the builds, but I was like, if I just bring it out a little bit more, I can make that an actual room, and that could be where her podcast room is. And I really like the room up there. I have like a bunch of old toys for like to imagine like she's like outgrew a lot of this stuff, and it's like I know another part of Sable's lore is that she doesn't feel like she fits in with her family. She finds out she's adopted, and like rebels a lot more, and she really is just trying to develop her own style and be her own person. So I put all like these girly toys like hidden away in the attic on one side, and I was really trying to make it seem like some of the stuff in her room was like a little bit girly, and it was what her parents had picked out for her, but it never really resonated with her. And so she started to bring in her own style, and that's what I wanted. Like some of the storage spaces to feel like she was like shoving it away so she could just like develop what she wants her spaces to look like. And then the other half of the attic is like a setup like radio station area with like two of the blow up chairs that were unlockable rewards from the birthday event. So if you didn't do those, they might disappear, and you could just replace them with something else. But I really wanted to use them because I haven't actually gotten around to using those items yet. And the exterior is pretty much done now. I just wanted to make sure I had sort of a yard space where the two friends could hang out. And so I have like a little blanket in the small patch of grass there and two chairs. Originally, I was gonna try and put in like a little kiddie pool because when I'm like making the save file, I'm imagining it's like so hot and it's summer, but I settled on this too because I liked how it looked a lot more. So that's like what I ended up doing, and just some camping chairs and a grill. And now we're on the inside. You could see that I didn't show me putting some of the carpet and tiles down because sometimes it's like it just takes me forever to pick out things that I want. And so I first started with this is Michaela's bedroom because I knew that the bedrooms were going to be the most fun for me to do, and I just wanted to start something that was fun. I also changed this wallpaper out because I thought it just looked a little bit too like perfect, and I wanted the like house to feel very like run down, and like the walls are like the wallpaper is old, but they have a lot of like new furniture placed around, especially in the teen bedroom here. And Michaela really likes horror as well. She is into witchcraft, so I wanted to like add some witchy things into her room, which is also why I was trying to go with that like moon wallpaper. But I like this wallpaper a lot better, and I put a lot more clutter into this room. It is a very tiny room, so I wanted to cover the surfaces as much as I could with just like miscellaneous objects here and there, as well as like stacks of books. And I really liked these balloons sitting here. And I was like, that's like kind of fun. Maybe it was her birthday and she left the balloons up on her wall. And I really like these decals from Werewolves. I thought it fit Michaela very well. And so I have that over there. I love the high school years clutter and like wall decorations. So I use that in both Michaela's and in Sable's room. They both have a purple theme. Like Sable, I know has like a streak of purple in her hair and her base. Well, did I say Sable? I don't remember who I said, but Sable has like purple in her outfits, and Michaela she doesn't, but I needed to do purple because my friend is a Michaela main and she loves purple. And so that is like why I picked out the purple carpet, and that's what like ended up bringing this color like palette into my game because she likes purple. So it's like Michaela must love purple then if my friend does. And I realized that both her and Sable's room have very similar like furniture choices. They look pretty similar. That was just accidental on my part, but I really like the look of both of them, and they are really good friends. So I feel like they would have similar likes for how they like to decorate their room. And I think, well, no, I go back in and I add some more clutter into Michaela's room later because I noticed that the side table doesn't have a lot on it, and I do add way more. And I was going for like various like different colored themed bathrooms. So I have this blue bathroom here. And I didn't really look into houses from like the 70s and 80s for this because I just like couldn't be bothered and I just wanted to build. I took a lot of inspiration from my own house, which was built a long time ago. And so I figured this would have been built at a similar period and would have had similar elements. So I have like this blue bathroom in here, which if you're like, wow, would someone's house actually have like all this blue stuff? And the answer is yes, because my house has all that blue stuff. We also had a very pink bathroom as well, which has been updated a little bit. But when I was a kid, it was pink tile, pink walls, pink toilet, pink sinks. So and like is the I think the bathtub is also pink. And so I also have inspiration from that in the downstairs bathroom of this build. I think the bathrooms in Michaela's room are the only two areas of this house that has a lot of colors because the rest has a lot of wood and neutral tones, which you could see in the parents' bedroom here. I used the same bed in the other house too because I really liked it. and I was looking to see if I used the same swatch, and I feel like I used a slightly different swatch in the other house too, but I felt like it was fine even just to have the same sort of bed. It's not that important really. And I have a little closet off to the side, which I'm not sure if that item is functional when you just have a door leading to there. It was mostly just for show anyway. And I pick out some wooden furniture and anything that I thought would just fit into the space because the bedrooms are very small. And so I was like, I struggled more on the other parent's bedroom in the yellow house because this one has a little bit more space. Like I was able to fit the two side tables fine without having to like try to squeeze anything in. And I wanted the place to feel lived in, so I have different clutter aspects of it. And so there's like an open book and just like a pair of glasses on the side table. And yeah, I add some more clutter into Michaela's room. I don't like often build teen bedrooms, so I was having a lot of fun decorating these 2 for this. And it's like it feels kind of like messy just have all that stuff on the side table, but I feel like when I was a teen, I just kind of had stuff thrown everywhere in my room too. It wasn't really organized that well. Also, a brief content warning for like mention of family members passing. I was decorating the room with the lore for Michaela that her father passed away recently. And so I have some objects that are kind of like placed around to incorporate that, especially if I am going to have that when I make The Sims. I'm not really sure. I had in my Glimmerbrook save file, I had like pictures that I customized and I put on the walls and stuff of my builds, so it felt like the Sims were like actually living in there. And so that's something that I want to remember to do as well, which isn't going to be on the gallery because this time I am like uploading to the gallery as I do the build. Where when I did the Glimmerbrook one, I didn't upload any of them to the gallery and I waited a long time until it was all done and then I uploaded everything. So for like all those little personal details will probably have to be downloaded like as my save file when I do upload it, which will be on my Patreon for free whenever that is. I will assume that maybe this will be done end of summer if I continue to work on it like every other week or so. I feel like I have around like 8 lots that I need to do because there's one more lot in this neighborhood, which is going to be an apartment building, and the high school, the auditorium, and then there's that other little neighborhood that has like 3 lots and then 2 lots. So I think, yeah, I think there's exactly 8 lots left for me to work on. Some might not take as much time, but like the high school is going to take me a long time, which I had started like the high school a while ago, and I think I'm just gonna have to start again because I was struggling with like getting the size right for that like sort of build because I don't want it to be too big because like my problem with high school years is that when I would have my Sims go to high school, there's just like the build is really large and the Sims just kind of like take a while to do things. And so I want it to be like small enough so that like the Sims don't take a long time to walk from like one point to another. And the one that I was doing was like even larger because it is such a large lot. It's like a 64 by 64. So like I feel like no matter what you're going to do, it's going to have like your Sim need to walk a lot to get to like the classroom and stuff. And I remember when I was playing, because maybe they fixed some of this, but the Sims used to just all stand around and do little gestures like the entire time. I haven't really like brought my Sims to high school in a while, which like I really want to, which is also why I'm trying to work on the save more because this feels like a save that I will like constantly be going back to when I want to do gameplay. So I do love Copperdale. It's like my favorite neighborhood to like do gameplay in. And also has one of my favorite lots, which is like this small lot next to a river that has like natural rock structures around. I'm not really describing it well, but it is a small lot too, and I've built a lot of houses there. It's my favorite lot. And I do have a video in my Copperdale playlist as an option for the save file, but it wasn't intended as being for my save file. And it's this haunted starter home that I had made from my Sims that I was doing gameplay for, and then I lost interest in that mostly because all my CC kind of like got deleted, or like I accidentally deleted my CC, and then I like no, wait, I remember why I abandoned it. It was because I was trying to do the Grim Reaper rewards and my game kept breaking and it was really frustrating. And then I had just like restarted an entire new save after that because I was having so many issues with it. But I did also lose my CC, which is another aspect of it when I was going to revisit it. But I had found a backup folder on my computer with all my CC, which I'm so glad that I did, because like sometimes when I'm updating my game, I'll back everything up, including my CC, just like to make sure. And then like I made a copy of it, thankfully, because I deleted my other folder. But I've never went back to that, like that family. The whole point of that was just to say that I do have an option of a haunted starter home that can be placed on my favorite lot in the game, but I will be making something else there too. My idea was to maybe do like a bakery with like a home bakery using the business and hobbies layout that we got. That's one idea that I might do. I may not do that. I might change my mind. I don't have this save file like planned out like in detail. It's kind of just happening as it happens. I do have some notes written down of things that I do want to do. Like I'm going to have the like sleepaway camp in the neighborhood that has the like carnival pier area, and another lot over next to that is going to be sort of like a nurse's office. So there's like different things that I have ideas that I want to do. It could change too if I get to the lot and I realize that it might be better for something else, or if I'm developing the story and I realize that I want a certain type of lot, it might change. But yeah, this build, you could see that it's very small, and I didn't put a lot on the walls, and it wasn't out of laziness this time. It was mostly just because I was like, I feel like my house growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of stuff just like decorating the walls. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that they would have too much. And if I do take pictures, they probably have like a couple of family pictures on some of the walls. So the dining room is a bit empty. I wanted to fit like a cabinet with dishes in it, but it really wasn't working out. And I guess I could have pushed the table off against a wall and made it a little bit better. And I do go back in and I change some of the walls in the other house to have more colorful tile swatches after doing it in this build, which you'll see in like a little bit. I use some stuff from Parenthood, I think, has some really nice tile walls that I thought was like really colorful. It was because I had read that Sable's mom is like a very peppy person, and I figured that she would have really tried to make her home very bright and more colorful compared to the other house, which was also just a nice to like break it up a little bit and it would not have the same interior twice in this video. So this one is a little bit different. I also think it just looks a lot better and is a little bit more interesting to watch this color palette because there is more going on. So if you sat through the boring beige interior for the entire other house, this one is a little bit different. I did use like similar bathroom stuff just because bathrooms are like they don't need to be special. I do like the tiles though, which I think those ones are the Parenthood ones. I use the other variant that came with Parenthood in the kitchen. I think the kitchen is my favorite part of both of the builds. I also really like this upstairs bathroom, like the larger one to the left, I really like. And when I was getting this ready to put on the gallery, and I was like, "Oh my god, there's so many bathrooms in this place." I feel like there's more bathrooms than bedrooms, which there is because there's 3 bathrooms in this yellow house, and I feel like that's way too many bathrooms, but it just happened to be that way, and I guess I could have made the downstairs bathroom more of a half bathroom, and then I just didn't do that. So there's just a full bathroom downstairs too, as well as like the parents have their own bathroom, and then there's supposed to be, I guess that's the shared bathroom, which would make more sense if there was more bedrooms, but there's only one other bedroom up there. But yeah, here's the kitchen that I really like. I don't use colors very often in my builds. Like a lot of the time, the walls of my houses are wood panel walls in like every single room and wood flooring with like sometimes like old looking tile, but this one feels very bright and I felt like was exactly what I was going for when I was trying to like think of the mom character in my head, which I haven't made them yet, but I feel like this is like the exact vibe that she wants her house to have. I also liked having another set of counters off to the side where there's the phone and then just like different like clutter items that are just like thrown on there. Like there's a flower craft thing that I would assume Sable would have made as a kid and her parents keep it there even though she might not like it and they just like keep all of the stuff off to the side in the kitchen. These chairs for the kitchen table are also really cute. I've never even used them, didn't even know that this was a swatch option, but I am pretty sure it is from high school years, which is what I was like leaning towards. I was like, you know what? I feel like high school years would work in any of the builds I'm doing. So I'm just gonna grab these and use this over here. And I knew that from the start that the like screened in area would be where the like kitchen table would be, except I had assumed that I would have a separate dining space and kitchen, but when I got to the interior with the actual floor plan, I realized that I would have to have the kitchen and the dining room as one room, which is okay. It's a really spacious kitchen, and it makes sense to just like have it all together because the alternative would have been that the living room would have been the kitchen, and then the very small entryway would have been the living room. And I think that would have just been a little bit too squished. And if I had done that, I wouldn't have been able to do the like sports closet with like also just a bunch of random board games and stuff, which I felt like just I really wanted to have in one of these builds too, was just like all the miscellaneous stuff like shoved in a closet in the builds. You could also just see more of, like, the flooring and wallpapers that I did not recording it because, like, that just takes a long time, and sometimes I do show it, but other times, I just know that it's gonna take me a while of scrolling through and trying out different things that I'm like, "I think it's better if you just see some of it because it's a little bit boring, and if I remember, I'll say what packs some of the stuff is from, but for the most part, I think, like, the floors look like cottage living floors, and the kitchen tile floor, I can't even remember what that's from, so I really cannot tell you what tile floor that is, but if you're ever, like, interested in knowing where some of the stuff is from, the gallery does show, like, if you click on the packs, it will show you each item used from the pack in the build, and you'll be able to see it that way. Unless it's like a debug or live edit object, those don't show up, but everything else shows up. And now I'm doing the storage closet and just looking for shelving to put here. It is like an oddly shaped entryway. It's very narrow. The hallway in the other house is also pretty narrow. Usually I like to make hallways at least like 2 tiles, but sometimes it's just not going to happen, especially with how small these houses are. I wanna guess, like, if they were separate houses, they would probably fit in, like, the small house, tiny home, like, requirements, maybe, because it is pretty small. Well, maybe not the yellow one because there is the attic space upstairs. But yeah, I look up just, like, shoes in the catalog and I pull out a whole bunch of stuff and then I was like, these are kind of like way too like perfectly placed in here. So let me like scatter them around a little bit and readjust them so they don't just look like perfectly lined up because it doesn't seem very realistic. I was trying to make these builds as realistic as possible with where I put the clutter. So like the other one doesn't have too much clutter, but I feel like even what I had put in that one, it was supposed to be very just like natural and just like accumulated over time instead of like professionally decorated. And so I do the same thing with here and just pulling out different storage containers that I thought would make sense in here. There's like boxes of games and like old video games and just like other stuff. I have this workout equipment too. I thought that like maybe they would be the type of couple to use that. So I threw that in the closet as well and just a little seating area when you walk in where you could take off your shoes or just throw something on top of the ottoman over there. And these windows are so large for some reason. It was like awkward to find the right curtain for that space. So I sized down just a base game one and I put that there. And you can see I've been putting light switches in every room too because I was like, yeah, I want this to feel realistic. And then I was like, I don't think I put light switches in any of the community lots that I had built so far, which it's okay. Like, it's okay to just, like, suddenly want to add things to, like, have it be a little bit more realism in some of the houses. So for the houses, I kind of want it to feel, like, real and have those sorts of objects around when I remember them and not forget about it. And I don't know if you remember, but way before I was saying how the side table scale looked so weird next to the couch, and I don't know what it is because this couch feels very tiny, and then that horse ranch side table feels, like, massive, and so I had to use Tool Mod to size it down just a little bit. I think I did point 0.9, which is normally what I usually do when I need to scale something down just a little bit, and so I did that. I also did wanna mention that if you have, like, any ideas for, like, lots and stuff or, like, inspiration, I'm definitely open to, like, reading comments of what could possibly fit into a, like, horror like, a haunted Copperdale inspired by, like, 80s horror. I can't, like, promise that I would exactly do it, but it definitely would be helpful to me anyway when deciding on some of the other builds, especially some of the residential lots, because I think I'm going to try and do at least like I want to say another two houses. I would think one house I want to be completely abandoned and I want it to look very haunted, and that'll be sort of near the campgrounds and stuff like that. So if you have any ideas, I'd love to read through it and see how I could incorporate it since there's so many more lots that I have to do. Like I when I was originally like talking about this idea on my Instagram, I do remember someone saying that it reminded them of Silent Hill, and so that kind of is inspired me to want to do sort of like a nurse facility somewhere near the campground. I need to like look more into it, but it's like little like comments that helps me to like find a new direction for where I want the save to go. Oh yeah, and you could see where I was struggling with this bedroom, like I was saying earlier, because it's so small. I decided on using like shelves to act as side tables, and I put two little lamps on either side. It kind of reminded me of like a hotel bed setup with that. And I was really trying to fit a desk in with a computer, and I couldn't figure out where to put one, and so I just had to not have one, but there is a computer upstairs in the attic where I was having, like, the radio stuff. So there is a computer in the builds, and, yeah, you can see I'm, like, struggling to even figure out what to put in this corner because I was like, all these dressers look kind of weird next to this other taller dresser that I have. And I settled on two bookcases here, which I probably put some clutter on top of. Yeah, I put like a candle. And I use like the same curtains throughout because these ones just like felt very simple and made sense for the build. So I put them in pretty much every room for both builds. I feel like this is the most boring room of the build, and it'll be it'll be over soon, and we'll get to the more fun rooms again, which is Sable's bedroom and the attic space, which is another two of my favorite rooms in the build. I mean, I really do like this house, the yellow house. The parents' bedroom is just odd, and I just needed to pretend like it was okay because it was so hard to figure out a floor plan for it because of how narrow it is. And so I was like, you know what? I feel like they would like move in here and struggle to even figure out what to put here. So they just had to put random furniture that would help them store their clothes, and then they just had to get over it. But now I'm doing Sable's bedroom, which I picked out this bed because I had imagined that maybe the mom would have had like a very like princessy themed room for her growing up, and then as Sable got older, she developed her own style, and so she was trying to incorporate more of that in there. I have this like old looking desk with a makeup vanity area, which I thought was fitting. I know that when I was a teen, I had just like an old desk like that, and that's where I also did my makeup. So I was like, yeah, this is just my bedroom. No, it's not. But I had like an old carpet too, so I used a green carpet here and basic walls, but I had one part which was a wallpaper with some ghosts that I thought that she would have like begged her parents to give her new wallpaper, and they were like, I don't think that you should have that covering your entire wall. Maybe we'll just do one wall. And so she settled on like having one wall be this purple ghost wallpaper, which is above her dresser, which I put some like vinyl records onto. It's a very busy wall, but I really like how it looks. And I also gave purple lighting in here, but I used the star lights on these ones. And I was originally going to put like the star ceiling decals that I had put in the other bedroom, but I didn't want them to feel too similar because they are very similar to each other. So I didn't want it to be like a mirror of each other. I wanted them to at least be kind of different, which I think they're different enough. Oh yeah, I should mention too that when I do make the Sims, I'm gonna make their appearances inspired by the Dead by Daylight survivors. I'm not gonna be able to recreate them perfectly because I do not do create a sim that well. Or I don't know, I haven't done create a sim in a while. And I can't make a promise that they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's literally them. It's just gonna have their vibe, I think. And they're gonna be teenagers too, because in DBD they are adults. And in like their lore, when I was reading it, they were college students, and so I'm making them like this takes place like way before that. So I think I can do it and it not have to be perfect. And now we're in the last room of the house, which will be very quick. It is the attic space I was talking about where they host their radio show. And those are the two birthday reward items, which is the like blow up chairs that I think are really cute. And I wanted to use them. And as I was mentioning earlier, I have like all like old childhood toys off to the side of the attic. And then I do create like a divider where there's a curtain, almost like a backdrop, where they could have a video of them, like almost like they're streaming. There's many possibilities. I just like try to make it look as cute as possible and like makeshift as possible, where it would be like these two teens wanting to host their little horror radio show where they debate their favorite horror movies, which is what it says in their lore. I'm also using that's technically like a marble game circle, but I'm pretending like it's like a salt circle, which there is a salt circle that came in paranormal, But that one just popped up first, so I put that down and I was like, yeah, maybe they also try and like do like a seance for their listeners. And there is a perk from Sable that you go down in the basement and you do like an invocation, and there is like the white circle that you sit at. So I feel like that's also a little nudge to that, and I didn't even realize until just now when I was talking about it. But that's the whole build, and now we could see the screenshots. This was house number 1, and then it goes to house number 2 in a second. Yeah, this is house number 2. This will be up on my gallery, which you can find in my description, along with the other builds for my save file. It uses hashtag CK Haunted Copperdale. That'll also be in the description so you could easily find it. And if you've missed any of my save file, I have a playlist with all the videos, which is also up on the screen that you can watch and see what else I have built for this. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Not sure what next week's video will be, if there is one, but I'll update again what I know. But yeah, thank you. Bye.